Wriothesley's secret ship within the fortress of Meropide. A fascinating dry dock the dude somehow managed to fit beneath his office. When that glass unblurred and I was shown what lay behind it, I knew then and there that I had to break in and get a closer look. And indeed, we will be taking a closer look. But I must confess, I couldn't actually break in. Behold, the new most secure place in Genshin Impact. I suppose Wriothesley takes security very seriously, at least in this room, because the rest of the fortress is easy to break out of. Before we take a closer look, I think it's important to understand why it is nigh impossible to break in. A way to temper expectations for what you will and will not see, by way of understanding the limitations present. First and foremost, the biggest issue with the dry dock is that it's contained within an invisible cube. Yes, cube. This is not the typical invisible wall many an intrepid out-of-bounds explorer will have run into. All 6 sides are sealed. Furthermore, though I don't have entirely conclusive proof, I believe this cube to have properties similar to that of a locked Shrine of Depths. I covered those in an older video, but as a refresher, that means things on the inside are continuously expelled outwards if they happen to get within. It should be noted, not all things are affected by this. You can see arrows go through just fine, and also confirm that the ship has collision. But try tossing in something like Baron Bunny.
Get him! Go, Baron Bunny!
Heck, even Paimon gets slapped by it. Look at the hit marker on her when I open and close the Paimon menu. As for how big the cube is, it begins right at the center window from the downstairs hall and stretches all the way to beyond the back of the ship. Its width reaches beyond the confines of the map's outer textures. And height-wise, the bottom is below the void out zone and the top is above the map's ceiling. The other major issue, well, I just mentioned that. It's the void out zone and the fact it is quite high up. A lot of the dock is below it. Where Xiao stands is barely above the zone. With all that in mind, let's take a look at what we can do. Shots from high up are always a treat, and thankfully the zoom feature is pretty great in Genshin. The other thing we can do is get a closer look. This is the part where I'd like to laugh and say everything beforehand was lead up to a great plot twist in which I actually did break in. But, sorry, there's no such plot twist. The way we can get a closer look is by dropping below the void out zone and cube, and then moving closer to the ship. It results in only having one angle to view the ship from, but it is still kinda cool to see its hull up close. The docks themselves are cool as well. To clarify, I'm currently below the cube. In fact, it's close enough that I can jump and my character will hit their head on it. I do wish I could have shown you the deck of the ship, that I could have explored its outer and inner workings. But I hope this closer view, even if only a teeny bit closer, as well as the complications of the dry dock itself, were interesting. Because, I gotta hand it to Hoyoverse here, they for once succeeded in keeping me out. Alright, I retract my earlier apology, because we have a plot twist. What a roller coaster this video has been to make. While editing, I realized something. I never went behind the ship, which meant I didn't know precisely how far the cube extended backwards. I knew the ship was fully contained within it, as mentioned earlier, but maybe, just maybe, the cube stops at the edge of the hull's far side. Getting there That's no easy task, but it's at least easier than trying to break into the invisible cube. Without further ado, I present to you the deck of the ship. And while we can't walk on it, we can see it in all its detailed glory. Across from it is a big, circular gate. Seeing as there's no other way for the ship to get out of this room, I'm gonna take a guess and say this is the cap to a gigantic pipe that would let the ship out. I mean, I guess that works. I very much want the devs to show the ship getting out of this room via some spectacular cutscene. You know, this room deep within the Fortress of Meropide, which itself is deep underwater. Does this thing double as a sub? So glad I went back to check behind the ship at the last minute. No longer is this an utter defeat. Hoyerverse, I'm calling this one a draw. That's not to say that I think it's impossible to break into here. No, I'm sure there's someone out there who entered this room while playing on their phone. A phone that doesn't run Genshin Impact very well. And they waltzed their way on up to the ship because the room didn't load properly and the glass windows were missing, along with the entirety of the invisible cube. Because all the crazy stuff happens on mobile. Do make sure to subscribe and check out the channel if you want even more out of bounds in Genshin Impact. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter @Musashiden, where I sometimes share tidbits before they're put into video format. This is Musashi, signing off. Till next time.